Those beliefs lead to statements like, you only got that job because you're a woman. Ever hear that one? I never had it said to my face, but I've spoken to plenty of women who have. They often feel the unspoken implication is, and don't you forget it. In other words, they got a job they didn't deserve. They had a door open for them because they were wearing a skirt. You cannot wait for others to pave the way. You overwhelm prejudice and discrimination with excellence and effort. Ernesta Procope. So what? There are plenty of people who got a job only because they were the CEO's son, the chairman's golfing buddy, a young man with an engineering degree, a major client's brother-in-law, a roommate at Yale, Harvard, Wharton, or Stanford. Experienced with Sarbanes-Oxley. Charming. The truth of it is that men are hired for what they might be able to do. Women are hired only if they have proven themselves over and over again. I wish we lived in a world where advancement and accomplishment were solely based on merit or potential. I wouldn't need to write this book. We could move past conversations about gender, equity, and access and focus on doing our jobs. We would finally live in Martin Luther King Jr.'s world, where everyone would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Yeah, we're not there yet. There are millions of factors that go into any business decision, both explicit and subconscious. Landing a contract, an invitation, a promotion, or a seat on the board is almost never strictly about the person's qualifications. Yes, sometimes a woman might land a job because she's a woman. Again, so what? What if you got a job partly because of a quota system, an HR diversity initiative, or simply so the board could have a token woman? What are you supposed to do? Be glad you get to sit at the grown-ups table? Not speak up? Not make waves? Be grateful and look pretty while those who deserve to be there have all the fun? No, thank you. The women I hold up as examples here don't allow their gender to be a handicap. They see it as a strength. They accept that it may have been a factor in getting them where they are, but they double down and work hard to add real value. They don't internalize the message that they only got the job because they were a woman. They neutralize those messages and look toward the future. They say, okay, now that I'm here, what can we do to achieve the mission going forward? Sure, Fred Astaire was great, but don't forget that Ginger Rogers did everything he did, backwards and in high heels. Bob Thaves. We don't need a handout. As a Wonder Woman once told me, no one's going to get asked to join a board because they're a woman. They'll get asked because they're a competent woman who has done something. That sums up the role models we're talking about here. They didn't get where they are because someone did them a favor. They're not just a pretty face. They are impressive women with unique skills, diverse backgrounds, and relevant expertise. The women in my doctoral research were no exception. One was a CEO scientist with a PhD who could slice and dice data and was used to working with the mind-boggling numbers that come with financing multinational corporations. Another was an SEC expert with an intimate knowledge of Sarbanes-Oxley who had numerous mergers and acquisition deals under her belt. Another had experience working with legislatures at both the state and federal levels. One was the president of 2 industry trade associations. Another had a background in manufacturing as well as business development. I could go on and on, but suffice it to say, these women weren't handed their board seats just because they were women, and they weren't asking for a handout. They had ambition, vision, domain knowledge, and insight. In fact, one of them told me